The morning sun filtered through the lace curtains of Evelyn Harper's modest home, casting delicate shadows across the kitchen table where she sat, her frail hands clutching a crumpled yellow notice. At 82, Evelyn's silver hair framed a face etched with decades of laughter and loss, but her eyes still sparkled with the resilience of youth. I stood nearby, unloading groceries from canvas bags, the faint hum of the refrigerator filling the silence between us. "This is the third one this month. Lucas," she murmured, her voice trembling as she smoothed the paper flat. $350. For what? Parking my car in my own driveway. I glanced at the notice, my jaw tightening. It was from Melinda Voss, the iron-fisted president of the Pinewood Heights Homeowners Association. Section 14, paragraph 7. Vintage vehicles must be stored in garages, not driveways. The car in question was Evelyn's pride, enjoy a 1965 Ford Falcon convertible, sky blue with white wall tires, a gift from my late grandfather on their 20th anniversary. It wasn't just a car. It was a time capsule of road trips along the coast, of my first clumsy attempts at driving under her patient guidance, of Sunday mornings spent polishing its chrome until it gleamed like a mirror. Before I could respond, the sharp click-clack of heels echoed on the pavement outside. Melinda Voss approached, her auburn hair pulled into a severe bun, clipboard clutched like a scepter. She wore a tailored blazer despite the late March heat, her posture radiating authority. "Mrs. Harper," she began, her voice syrupy with condescension. "I see we're still ignoring the rules. That car's been out here all morning." Evelyn stood, steadying herself on the counter. "I'm unloading groceries, Melinda. It'll be in the garage in 10 minutes. "That's not the point," Melinda snapped, her green eyes narrowing. "This is your third violation. The fine stands." She scribbled something on her clipboard, then turned her gaze to me. "And you are?" "Lucas Grayson," I said, keeping my tone even despite the heat rising in my chest. "I'm staying with my grandmother for a few weeks." Melinda's lips curled into a thin smile. "Unless you're on the deed, this doesn't concern you, Mr. Grayson." She handed Evelyn the fine, then strode off, her heels clicking a triumphant rhythm. I watched her go, my hands balling into fists. What Melinda didn't know, what no one in Pinewood Heights knew, was that 3 days earlier, I'd finalized a deal that would turn her world upside down. Through my real estate investment firm, I'd quietly purchased the entire Subby VY Shown. Every lot, every street, every manicured lawn. The paperwork was still processing, but the land was mine. I planned to surprise Evelyn once everything was official, maybe even throw a little celebration. But that moment, watching Melinda bully my grandmother over a car that meant more to her than anything, shifted something inside me. The surprise could wait. Justice couldn't. The trouble with Melinda Voss had been brewing for months. She'd ruled Pinewood Heights like a petty dictator, her HOA regulations a weapon to enforce her VY Shown of suburban perfection. She'd fined the Garcias due law $600 for a patio umbrella that clashed with her approved color palette. She'd forced old Mr. Delaney to dismantle the birdhouses he'd built for his late wife because they attracted pests. And then there was the incident with the Patel family. Melinda had slapped them with a due law $400 fine when their son's basketball hoop was an inch too low, claiming it disrupted the neighborhood's aesthetic harmony. Evelyn had dared to speak out against Melinda's latest proposal, a ban on all outdoor decorations, at the last community meeting, and since then, the violations had piled up like clockwork. That afternoon, I sat in the backyard, sipping coffee and reviewing contracts on my laptop, when a familiar rumble caught my ear. Peering over the fence, I saw Melinda's husband, Greg, a stocky man with a perpetual smirk, leaning against Evelyn's Falcon. Beside him stood Melinda and their friend Carla, another HOA enforcer with a penchant for gossip. Greg climbed into the driver's seat, the engine roaring to life. My coffee mug hit the ground as I bolted around the house, shouting, "What the hell are you doing?" Melinda waved a document in my face. Section 22. Persistent violations can be removed at the owner's expense. That car has been cited 3 times. We're relocating it to the impound lot, until your grandmother complies. You can't just take her car. I lunged forward, but Greg was already backing out of the driveway. Stop, Carla chuckled, snapping a photo with her phone. Documenting your aggression for the report, Mr. Grayson. I grabbed my keys and followed to my Jeep, my pulse pounding. Instead of heading toward the supposed impound lot, Greg veered towards Cedar Hollow Lake, a quiet spot at the edge of the subby VY Sound where kids fished and retirees tossed bread to the ducks. Melinda and Carla trailed in Melinda's gleaming BMW, parking near the boat ramp. I slammed my door shut and ran toward them just as Greg gunned the Falcon down the ramp. At the last second, he jumped out, and the car rolled forward, splashing into the water with a sickening thud. The sky blue convertible bobbed for a moment, water flooding through the open windows, before sinking beneath the surface. No! I roared, sprinting to the edge. 50 years of memory as me grandparents' first date, their cross-country adventures, Evelyn's quiet tears after Grandpa's funeral all vanishing into the murky depths. Melinda's face paled, her clipboard slipping slightly. Greg, what have you done? The brakes, I couldn't stop it. Greg stammered, water dripping from his jeans. But I'd seen the gleam in his eyes as he accelerated. This wasn't an accident. As the Falcon's roof disappeared, I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, reporting the theft and destruction. Melinda and Greg argued in hushed, frantic tones, Carla hovering nervously nearby. You were supposed to take it to your cousin's shop, Melinda hissed. It was an impulse. Greg shot back, glancing at me warily. Police sirens wailed in the distance as I made a second call. Sam, it's Lucas. Expedite the property transfer notifications, every single one. And call the insurance company about a 1965 Falcon driven into Cedar Hollow Lake. Melinda overheard, her head snapping toward me. Property transfer. I turned to her, a cold smile spreading across my face. As of 3 days ago, I own Pinewood Heights. Every inch of it, including your precious colonial with that tacky fountain you love so much. Her mouth opened, then closed, words failing her. The police arrived, followed by a tow truck to fish the Falcon from the lake. Greg was cuffed for grand theft auto and vandalism, his protest drowned out by the officer's questions. Melinda tried to spin a tale about enforcing HOA rules, but the lead officer raised an eyebrow. By sinking a car into a lake? By the time I got back to Evelyn's, the neighborhood was buzzing. Texts flooded my phone, neighbors asking if it was true I'd bought the subby VY Sound, others recounting their own run-ins with Melinda's tyranny. Evelyn met me at the door, her eyes red. Lucas, what's happening? Mrs. Garcia said you own everything now. I hug her tightly. It's true, Grandma. I did it to stop people like Melinda from hurting you. The next morning, chaos erupted. Melinda stood on the sidewalk, megaphone in hand, rallying a handful of loyalists. This is a corporate takeover, she bellowed, her usually impeccable hair a tangled mess. He's here to ruin our way of life. A small crowd nodded along, but most residents watched from their porches, skepticism in their eyes. Evelyn clutched my arm. Why is she doing this? Because she's losing control, I said, stepping outside to face the commotion. Melinda stormed up, Greg out on bail trailing behind her, along with Carla and a man in a pinstripe suit. This is Victor Klein, our attorney, Melinda declared, VYing past me into the house. Show us proof of this so-called ownership, or we'll sue you for fraud. I handed over the documents, my voice steady. Oak Ridge Holdings me, company owns the land under every home here. You own your houses, but you've always leased the lots. Check your deeds. Victor scanned the papers, his frown deepening. Melinda's hands shook as she snatched them from him. We've never leased anything. It's standard in planned communities, I said. And as the landowner, I'm VYing the current HOA board, effective immediately. New elections will be held next week. You can't, Carla began, but Evelyn cut her off, her voice firm despite her age. What my grandson wants is for you to stop terrorizing people, Melinda. And I want my car back or a replacement for the one your husband destroyed. That evening, I called a community meeting at the park. Nearly every resident showed up, their faces a mix of curiosity and hope. Standing on a bench, I laid out my plan. A reformed HOA with elected leaders, no more absurd fines, no more petty power plays. This is our neighborhood, I said, not Melinda's personal kingdom. Cheers erupted, though a few of Melinda's allies crossed their arms, Uncon V. Wine said. But Melinda wasn't finished. Overnight, she plastered for sale signs across Evelyn's lawn and spread rumors of plummeting property values. By noon, a news van rolled in, and she gave a tearful VYEW, painting me as a ruthless outsider. I watched from the porch, debating my next move, when Evelyn marched out, her walker clicking against the pavement. She stepped into the camera shot, her voice cutting through Melinda's sob story. "Excuse me. I'd like to tell you how this woman's husband sank my car into the lake because I dared to disagree with her." The reporter pivoted, microphone extended. "Is that true, Mrs. Voss?" As Evelyn spoke, neighbors gathered, adding their own tales of Melinda's reign. The live broadcast turned into a public reckoning, Melinda's facade cracking with every word. Her final gambit came that night. The power cut out to Evelyn's house. The Garcias, the Patels, every dissenter's home plunged into darkness while Melinda's glowed like a fortress. My friend Tony, a former lineman, traced the sabotage to a utility box. A neighbor's security camera caught Greg with wire cutters, and he was arrested again, this time for tampering with public utilities. With Greg facing serious charges and EVY tie-in looming, Melinda listed their house. The news coverage tanked its value, and they sold at a loss, fleeing Pinewood Heights in disgrace. I worked with the new HOA board to transfer the land into a community trust, ensuring no one could exploit it again. The neighborhood blossomed. Mr. Delaney rebuilt his birdhouses with help from the Garcias. The Patels hosted a block party, their son's basketball hoop proudly displayed. And Evelyn, the community rallied to find her 1966 Falcon, not quite her original, but close enough. On summer evenings, she'd cruise the streets, while VYing to neighbors who'd become family, occasionally pausing by Cedar Hollow Lake to remember. But mostly, she smiled, reveling in a community reborn stronger, kinder, and free. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY.